Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 4 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that made me question everything about relationships. Story 1. My mom sabotaged our house hunt because she's our realtor. So my mom just cost herself a huge real estate commission, and I'm wondering if I'm the bad guy here. My husband and I are in our 30s and 40s. And we finally decided to buy a house in New Jersey. Now here's the thing, my mom's a realtor in the same exact area. Seems perfect, right? Family business, keep the money in the family, all that good stuff. Wrong. Dead wrong. We tried working with her for an entire year, and let me tell you, it was a nightmare from day one. She had this obsession with us putting 20% down. Not 15, not 18, exactly 20% or she'd lose her mind. She'd tell us loudly and repeatedly that we absolutely had to do this, even though we'd already talked about our budget and what worked for us. But that wasn't even the worst part. She would literally refuse to schedule showings for us if she didn't like the neighborhood. I'm not talking about genuinely dangerous areas, I mean places where she personally wouldn't want to live. She'd shoot down our requests and act like we were being unreasonable for wanting to see houses in perfectly decent areas. One time she was unavailable and we worked with another agent temporarily. You know what happened? We found several houses we loved that she'd never even mentioned to us, even though they were in our price range and met all our criteria. That's when we realized she wasn't just being picky, she was actively steering us toward what she wanted us to buy, not what we wanted. The final straw came when we found a house we absolutely loved through our own research. We asked her to help us with the paperwork and negotiations, thinking surely she'd support our choice. Instead, she spent the entire meeting telling us everything wrong with it and trying to talk us out of it. She kept pushing this other property that was way more expensive and completely wrong for our lifestyle. That's when we made the decision to fire her and work with someone else. The new agent was amazing. She listened to what we actually wanted, showed us properties that fit our criteria, and helped us close on our dream home within 2 months. But now my mom is furious. She's not speaking to us, she's telling the whole family that we betrayed her and cost her a big commission, and she's making us out to be ungrateful children who don't support family business. Some relatives are taking her side, saying we should have stuck with family no matter what. Others are saying we had every right to work with someone who actually represented our interests. The thing is, I feel bad about the money she lost, but we couldn't keep letting her control one of the biggest decisions of our lives. We tried to make it work for a whole year, and she just wouldn't listen to us or respect our choices. Now I'm second-guessing everything. Should we have just sucked it up and let her find us a house, even if it wasn't what we wanted? Or were we right to prioritize our own needs and dreams over keeping peace in the family? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. I called 911 on my neighbor's flaming grill and they're furious. So I just had the fire department show up at my neighbor's house and now they think I'm a crazy person who overreacts to everything. I work from home, and yesterday morning I was getting up to grab some coffee when I glanced out my window. What I saw made my blood run cold. My neighbor's grill was completely engulfed in flames. And I'm not talking about normal grilling flames here. These were massive, roaring flames that shot up to twice the height of the grill, which looked like one of those small hibachi grills. The fire was so intense and out of control that I could see it clearly from inside my house. Here's what made it even worse. This grill was positioned maybe 4 or 5 feet from their garage opening, and there was an SUV parked just 2 or 3 feet away from it. The flames were literally touching the tire on the back of the SUV. Plus, the grill wasn't clear of the overhang from their house, so the fire was getting dangerously close to the structure itself. I stood there for a few minutes looking around for any sign that someone was dealing with this situation. No one was outside, no one seemed to be attending to the grill at all. The flames just kept getting higher and more intense. I started imagining their car exploding, their garage catching fire, maybe even their whole house going up in flames. So I made a split-second decision and called the fire department. I figured better safe than sorry, right? The fire trucks showed up pretty quickly, and by the time they got there, someone from the house had finally come outside. Turns out they knew about the fire and were apparently just letting it burn itself out. The fire department checked everything over and determined it was under control, so they left without having to do much. But here's where it gets awkward. My neighbors are now absolutely furious with me. They came over later that day and basically told me I was being a paranoid busybody who wasted the fire department's time and embarrassed them in front of the whole neighborhood. They said they had everything under control and I should have minded my own business or at least knocked on their door first before calling emergency services. They made me feel like I'd committed some terrible social crime by being concerned about what looked like a genuinely dangerous situation. Now I'm wondering if I totally overreacted. Maybe people let their grills flame up like that all the time and I'm just inexperienced with outdoor cooking. But those flames were so huge and so close to their car and house that it genuinely looked like a disaster waiting to happen. Part of me thinks I did the right thing. If their house had actually caught fire and I just watched it happen without calling for help, I'd never forgive myself. But another part of me feels awful for apparently humiliating them over what they considered a normal situation. Should I have trusted that they knew what they were doing and stayed out of it? Or was I right to err on the side of caution when it came to potential fire danger? Story 3. A stranger demanded my Lucky Charms cookies and called me selfish. So I just had the weirdest confrontation at a grocery store over some cookies, and I honestly don't know if I'm being reasonable or totally selfish here. Let me start from the beginning. Every year around St. Patrick's Day, Pillsbury releases these amazing Lucky Charms sugar cookies with the little marshmallows in them. They're absolutely my favorite cookies in the world, but here's the catch, they only make them once a year for a limited time. So whenever I see them, especially when they go on sale, I try to stock up because I know they'll be gone for another whole year. Last June, I was doing my regular grocery shopping when I spotted 7 packs of these cookies just sitting unpriced in a cooler. My heart literally skipped a beat because I figured they were probably marked down since they were so far past St. Patrick's Day. I grabbed all 7 packs and put them in my cart, then asked someone nearby to check the price for me. Turns out they were marked down to just 50 cents each. 50 cents. For cookies that normally cost like $3 or $4 a pack. I was absolutely thrilled and headed to the checkout feeling like I'd won the lottery. That's when things got weird. As I'm standing in line, this woman behind me starts staring at my cart. Then she taps me on the shoulder and says she noticed I have a lot of those cookies. I smiled and explained how they're my favorite and only come out once a year, so I like to stock up when I find them cheap. I thought she'd understand, who doesn't have that one special food they get excited about? But instead, she gets this entitled look on her face and asks if I can spare a few packs since I have so many. I politely said no, that I was planning to freeze them and eat them throughout the year. That should have been the end of it, right? Wrong. She starts arguing with me, saying it's selfish to take all the cookies when other people might want them too. She's acting like I committed some terrible crime by buying discounted cookies that were just sitting there available for anyone to purchase. I tried to explain again that these cookies are special to me and I rarely get the chance to buy them, but she kept pushing. She even suggested I should give her half of them because it's the right thing to do. At this point, other people in line are starting to stare and I'm feeling super uncomfortable. I just kept saying no as politely as I could, but inside I was getting pretty annoyed. Like, if she wanted these cookies so badly, why didn't she look around the store for them herself? Why is it my responsibility to share my groceries with a complete stranger? The cashier finally called me forward and I paid for all my cookies, but this woman kept muttering under her breath about selfish people and how some folks don't know how to share. It made me feel terrible, like maybe I really was being greedy by buying all 7 packs. But then I thought about it more, and I realized I didn't do anything wrong. I found cookies that were legitimately for sale, I paid full price for them, and I had valid reasons for wanting multiple packs. It's not like I was hoarding essential supplies during an emergency or taking the last of something someone desperately needed. These were just cookies that happened to be my favorite seasonal treat. Am I really being selfish here, or was this woman completely out of line for expecting me to give up my groceries to a stranger? Story 4. I left my friend at a bar after he brought up my wife's accident. So I just abandoned my friend at a brewery, and I'm not sure if I completely overreacted or if what he did was unforgivable. This is really hard for me to talk about, but I need to get it off my chest. A few years ago, my wife and I were hiking one of the 14ers in the Chicago Basin Group. These are really challenging mountain peaks for those who don't know. We're both experienced hikers, we've done this kind of thing many times before, but this particular day everything went wrong. My wife slipped and fell, and she ended up in this terrifying position where she was basically perched on a cliff edge. I tried everything I could think of to help her, but I just couldn't get her up by myself. I'm not as physically strong as I should be, and the angle was all wrong, and I was panicking, which made everything worse. We were stuck there for hours while I tried desperately to figure out how to save her. Eventually, another hiker came along who was able to help get her to safety, but those hours of watching my wife in danger, knowing I couldn't protect her, have haunted me ever since. The amazing thing is that my wife has never once blamed me or made me feel bad about not being able to rescue her myself. She knows how hard I tried, she understands that sometimes these situations are just beyond what one person can handle, and she's been nothing but supportive about the whole traumatic experience. But I can't shake the feeling that I failed her when she needed me most. It's something that eats at me, you know. Like, what kind of husband can't save his own wife? I've been working through these feelings in therapy, trying to process the guilt and the fear and all the what-ifs that keep me up at night. Most of our friends know this is a sensitive topic for me and they're respectful about it. Which brings me to yesterday. I was out having drinks with one of my longtime friends, someone I've known for years who definitely knows the whole story about the hiking accident. We're just having a normal conversation, talking about work and life and random stuff, when out of nowhere he brings up the incident. But not in a supportive or caring way. He starts making these casual comments about how he would have been able to get my wife up no problem, how he can't understand why I couldn't handle the situation, basically implying that I'm weak or incompetent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This is literally my worst fear about myself, the thing that haunts me more than anything else, and he's just casually throwing it in my face like it's no big deal. I told him he needed to stop talking about it right now, that it was completely inappropriate and hurtful. But instead of apologizing or backing off, he kept going. He said he was just being honest and that maybe I needed to hear some hard truths about the situation. That's when I snapped. I threw some money on the table, told him to find his own way home, and walked out. I left him sitting there at the brewery with no ride and no warning. Now he's been texting me saying I'm being dramatic and oversensitive, that he was just trying to help me see things differently. He thinks I owe him an apology for abandoning him over what he calls an innocent conversation. But I can't get past the fact that he deliberately brought up the most painful experience of my life just to make me feel worse about myself. Was I wrong to just leave him there, or are there some lines you just don't cross with friends? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.